We have been considering the concept of Duhkham as it appears here. The Dukkha is something that everyone experiences. And then, therefore, Dukkha has been defined in Shastras in the way it is Pratikula Vedaniyam Duhkham. Pratikula Vedaniyam Duhkham. When you experience something undesirable, whatever happens to mind is called Duhkham. And then Pratikula Vedaniyam Sukham. These are simple definitions which come in Shastras. Anukula Vedaniyam Sukham means that which is desirable. When it is experienced, whatever is the state of mind, that is Sukham. And then whatever is undesirable, when that is experienced by mind, that is Duhkham. So this is the simplest form of definition of Duhkham that appears in philosophical system. And we have been considering here as to what is Duhkham. Because Duhkham is said to be Heyam. Again, there can be no second opinion about it. It is of the class of avoidable. Duhkham for everyone is of the class of avoidable. Heya Paksha. So this is also another point of view that you get in philosophical systems. So philosophical systems speaks about Sukham and Duhkham. Philosophical systems speak about Heyata, Upadeyata, Heyopadeya, Sukha, Dukkha. These are major considerations in philosophical systems. And Duhkham is Heyam. So again, this is quite comprehensible statement about Duhkham. So Duhkham is that which is Heyam, which is of avoidable class. Every life form will be attempting to avoid Duhkham. Then what is this Duhkham? Pratikula Vedaniyam. Whatever is considered to be undesirable for oneself is called Duhkham. So, that is how the Dukkha has been described. And with the text of Patanjali, we are at the point where Patanjali has just now explained us what is essentially Duhkham. Because Duhkham is again a relative concept. What is Duhkham to a life may not be Duhkham to another life. What is Duhkham to one mind may not be Duhkham to another mind. So, there is also relativity in Dukkha and there is also absoluteness in Dukkha. So, Dukkha means it depends upon time, place or space, situation and person. So when it can be changing in time, space, situation and person, it is called relative Dukkha. But if it doesn't change in time, space, situation and person, then that is, because of its universality, is called absolute Dukkha. So there is also Sapeksha Duhkham and Nirpeks Duhkham that we need to consider in philosophical system. Sapekshata and Nirpekshata. And we were just now uh, explained that the essential, absolute pain, Duhkham, in true sense of the term, is that which is described in the Sutra 2.15. Parinamataapa samskara dukkhaihi gunavrutti virodhacha dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. So, that's how the dukkha has been explained. And then what is really dukkha for Viveki must be essential Dukkham. What is Dukkham to you and me is because of avidya, because of ajnanam, because of ignorance. So, ignorance also will make one to construe something as Dukkham which may not be Dukkham. And therefore, Patanjali tells us about Viveki. And then he says, for Viveki, the Dukkha is as explained in the Sutra. And of course, that is what we need to consider. What is really Dukkham for Viveki must be considered as Dukkha. Absolutely. What is Dukkha to you and me cannot be deemed to be Dukkham essentially. Because you and me are infested with avidya. As a klesha, avidya as a klesha. We are all infested by it. And therefore our perception will not be valid in the light of philosophy. So, Patanjali has mentioned the Dukkham for Vivekina or Viveki Purusha, and that must be considered as Dukkham. And then this Dukkha is not the sensation of Dukkha that we and commoners have, or any creature will have, any animal will have, any animate life or the life on the planet will identify something as Sukham and something as Dukkham. Now that need not be considered as essentially Dukkham or essentially Sukham. So in case of human being who is infested with avidya, the notion, idea, concept of Dukkham cannot be held as valid. What is Dukkham for you and me cannot be labeled as Dukkham, and what is Sukham for you and me cannot be labeled as Sukham. Because our idea, notion, concept of Sukha Dukkha is by the delimited mind stuff or chitta or antakaranam, which is infested by avidya. As a matter of fact, the material of our chitta is avidya. And therefore, our point of view or our idea of Sukha Dukkha cannot be really valid. It is only applicable to we ourselves. Our Sukha Dukkhas are our Sukha Dukkhas. So, then what is really Dukkha? So, on a philosophical pedestal, we are told samsaram. This samsara, the mundanity, the very mundanity itself is Dukkham. Now, in mundanity, we also get pleasure and happiness. Not that we do not have any Sukha in mundanity. Samsarika Sukham. This is experienced by everyone. Samsarika Dukkham is also experienced by everyone. But for Viveki, the samsarikata, the worldliness, the mundanity itself is Dukkham. Although sensation might be Sukha in it, or sensationally there might be Sukham in it, but that is not Sukham. And we have seen how that is not Sukham. That is not Sukham because there is Parinama Dukkha, Tapa Dukkha, Samskara Dukkha, and Gunavritti Virodhatmak Dukkha. So this was cleared for us in the previous sutra, the 2.15 sutra. So samsaram is actually Sukham. And therefore, the religious consciousness or philosophy postulates something which is opposite of samsaram, that is called paramartham. So samsarika concept of sukha dukkha is not absolute. It is relative. It is relative to mind which is infested by avidya. If the avidya is gone, then it will be totally a different idea of sukha dukkham. So when the samsara is gone, samsaram is gone, it is called paramartham. And in paramartham, what is described as sukha is only sukha, essential sukha, absolute sukha. And then what is dukkha in paramartha or paramarthikataha dukkha, then that is to be labeled as dukkham. Although there might be pleasure sensation, pleasure experience, pleasurable experience, yet it will be dukkham. And why it will be dukkham has been explained in the sutra. There is parinama dukkha, there is tapa dukkha, there is samskara dukkha, and there is gunavritti virodhatmak dukkha. Therefore, the Sukham is also Dukkham, and that is why the Viveki has been brought here as a sample to discuss what is this Dukkha. Now, Patanjali is going to commence a unique and centric topic of his philosophy that is called Caturvyu, fourfold concept or fourfold topic. And then Vyasa tells us that just as in medicine, there is that Caturvyu, Rogam, then Rogahetu, Arogyam, and Bhaisajam. Disease, cause of disease, then freedom from disease and medicine. So Ayurveda as Arogya Shastram tells us about Caturvyu has with regards to disease. Similarly here, Dukkham has been described and discussed. It is called Duhkham, Dukkhahetu, Dukkha Vimukti, and Dukkha Vimukti Upayam. In other words, Samsaraha, Samsarahetuhu, Moksham, and Mokshopayaha. So, Vyasa makes this clear in his commentary that what is going to follow is the fourfold investigation about the Dukkham. Because being a philosophical system, it is not only going to point out Dukkham, it is going to point out the cause of Dukkham, the measures to avoid that Dukkham, overcome the Dukkham, end the Dukkham, and then state of freedom from Dukkham. If there is absolute freedom from that Dukkha, what is that state? That is called Kaivalyam. So what is going to be commenced is Samsara, Samsara Hetuhu, Moksho, Mokshaha, Mokshopayaha. Or Dukkham, Dukkha Karanam, that is Dukkha Hetu, Dukkha Vimukti, and Dukkha Muktyopaya. So this is what is being discussed, and therefore the Dukkham has been first thoroughly investigated to tell us that Dukkham is not what one thinks as dukkha. Now, another precept that comes in Bhagavad Gita is also very interesting to be considered here. See, we just want to have solution against dukkha, eliminate dukkha, prevent dukkha. But we do not really go to the cause of it. Now, if you do not go to the cause of it, you cannot really annihilate Dukkham for all times. It will be temporary measure. And this is what we do in worldly realm, in mundanity. We just take temporary measures and we try to postpone dukkha. We try to take a bypass for dukkha. We try to avoid dukkha. Or we take measures against dukkha which are very temporary. Now, if essential measure has to be taken, it is important that we go to the cause of dukkha. What is really cause of dukkha? And philosophical system tells us about the very cause. Like in medicine, symptomatic treatments are there, but then you know that they are temporary. The symptoms can reappear. So, Mulatvena, if you want to annihilate the disease, you will have to go to the cause of disease. And you will have to set aside that cause of disease. The other measures are going to be temporary and they won't be giving you permanent solution. Now in life, we try to look for temporary solutions to our problems. We want temporary solutions to our problems, impermanent solutions to our problems. We don't go to the cause of problem and annihilate that very cause. This is what one does in prapancha and samsara. But in paramartha, one goes to the cause of it. Now, when we experience dukkham, we say this is dukkham. Or when we imagine that there is going to be dukkham out of it, or this is going to be dukkham, we identify as dukkham. So either we imagine something as dukkham, or we experience something as dukkham, or we infer something as dukkham, deduce, extrapolate something as dukkham. That will never take us to the cause. Why do we say that something is dukkham, something will be dukkham? That we do not go to the depth of it, but by the appearances aspects of it, we try to infer, deduce, extrapolate that something is dukkham. And we do not really bother about the very seed and very cause of dukkham. Bhagavad Gita has a precept, Rajasastu phalam dukkham. Rajasastu phalam dukkham rajo guna is going to fructify the form of dukkham. Now we know that we are permeated, infested, engulfed by sattva raja tama gunas. The prakriti within us, in the form of phenomenal to nominal, physical to psychomental, it is sattva raja tama gunas. And Bhagavad Gita gives that insight. Rajasastu phalam dukkham. The fruit of rajoguna is going to be dukkham. Sooner or later, in some form or the other, it will be experienced as dukkham. So the wisdom Bhagavad Gita gives us that wherever it is rajoguna manifestation, rajoguna functioning, rajoguna act, gunatmakata. So anything of the nature of rajoguna is invariably going to be causing sorrow, causing pain, causing dukkham. So Viveki, who is trying to cite the cause, he finds it with the clue given in Bhagavad Gita that Rajoguna itself is cause. So something has to be done with Rajoguna within us. We should not at least encourage Rajoguna. We should at least discourage Rajoguna, not pamper Rajoguna, not nourish Rajoguna. Because if we are going to nourish Rajoguna and Rajoguna Kriya, we are creating room for Duhkham. It is going to bear out fruit in the form of Duhkham. Rajasastu phalam Duhkham. So Rajoguna is the bijam and the Duhkham is the phalam, which is beautifully put in Bhagavad Gita. So the Viveki will be going towards the very seed. If you set aside the seed of Duhkham from your mind, then you will not be getting a sprout or a fruit in the form of Duhkham. So it is Rajoguna management, because Rajoguna is the bija, is the cause, is the seed of Duhkham. This is the wisdom given in Bhagavad Gita. We don't have to wait to get the experience of Duhkham. Now, we saw that every creature, every life will be trying to prevent Duhkham. But in our preventive measures, we are not going to Rajoguna. We try to find the cause of Duhkham in something which is not of the plane of gunas, but it is manifestation of gunas. And we try to have any annihilation in the manifestation of Rajoguna and not in the very bija. So this is what we do in our samsara, in prapancha. So we are going to take temporary measure. All lives are going to take temporary measures, and therefore they really don't escape Duhkham. It is only postponed or suppressed temporarily. But Bhagavad Gita says, if you are really aware of the Trigunas, Sattva, Raja, Tama gunas, therein you will identify Rajoguna, Rajoguna manifestation and Rajoguna seed form. Now something needs to be done there. Then only the phalam, the fruit in the form of Duhkham, will not appear on the tree of mind. Otherwise the mind will bear out fruit in the form of Duhkham because of the Rajoguna underlying the tree or embedded in the tree. Now, philosophically, from the klesha point of view, it is avidya. Avidya is a seed form of Duhkham. This is Patanjali's contribution to inquiry about absolute Duhkham, essential Duhkham, and true Duhkham. And we have considered avidya klesha in the topic which came earlier, klesha prakaranam. Avidya asmita raga dvesha abhiniveshaha kleshaha. Avidya kshetram uttaresham prasuptatanu vicchinno dharanam. There we dealt with avidya. That avidya is going to bear out something in the form of Duhkham, which is essential Duhkham. So avidya is a kind of ajnanam. So in other words, we have to banish our ignorance. It is our ignorance which makes us mal-identify pain and pleasures. And therefore we consider something as pleasure and something as pain because of our ignorance. What can be called as spiritual ignorance. Paramarthik ignorance, Adhyatmic ignorance. So that ignorance is a cause of Dukkham, not the object around us which causes Dukkham. Now we mortals try to identify Dukkham in the objects around us. And we say, this is because of which I am getting pain and sorrow and tormentation. We identify someone and we say, this is why, because of this person I am getting tormentation and sorrow and agony and worry. Or because of this thing I get Dukkham. So because of this person I get Dukkham. Because of this thing I get Dukkham. Because of this situation I get Dukkham. Because of this condition I get Dukkham. And all this is identified outside us. We, in our ignorance and in our mundanity, do not turn ourselves inwards and try to ascertain that this is why we have dukkha, where the finger should be pointed at us. Our finger will be pointing out, and say, then we will declare that this is because of this I have got dukkha, which is always finger pointing out. We never point finger towards ourselves and declare that the dukkham is because of this, myself. It is the ignorance within ourselves. Philosophically, it is called avidya. Precisely, it is called avidya. Avidya is therefore called as klesha. And we very well know that dukkham is always a klesha. We will never say that there is non-kleshatmaka dukkham. The dukkha itself is klesha. Not that dukkha has a klesha. Dukkha itself is klesha. Klesha itself is dukkham. So therefore yoga speaks about klesha tanukaranam, kleshochedam, klesha nasham. Klesha kshaya to klesha nasha is mentioned in Paramartha and in Adhyatma and in Yoga. Because the real cause of dukkha is in our avidya, which is in our chitta, not in a tormenting object outside, not in a tormenting person outside, not in tormenting situation that we confront in life, not because of tormenting condition that we face in life. The cause of it in the seed form is within us. So, now when it is in seed form, we don't take it as dukkham. Like a seed of very, very, very bitter fruit. We do not try to trace the bitterness that is there potentially in that seed which bears out a very bitter fruit. We say that the fruit is bitter. Is the really fruit bitter? If you go to the causation of it, we will infer that no, the bitterness is in the very seed. So we don't bother about the bitterness that is in the seed there, and then we allow the plant to grow, the tree to grow, and then it bears out the fruit, and then biting a fruit, we say this is bitter fruit. Where is the bitterness? The bitterness is in very botanical class of the tree, that tree. The botanical class of that tree. It is going to bear out bitter fruit anytime, anywhere, all the time, everywhere. Then why is it going to turn out bitter fruit? Because of its seed. So the bitterness of the fruit lies in seed. We don't turn to the seed, we turn to the fruit, and then we say this is the fruit which is bitter, or this is the bitter fruit. So in our hecticality of mundane life, we are not going to the cause, the causal body, the causal aspect, but we are so superficial that we are just identifying the bitterness in the fruit. Now, if we do not banish the seed, we will be continuing to get the bitter fruit. So, similarly, this avidya is the seed, but we do not experience that bitterness in the seed. We do not infer the bitterness in the seed because the seed is either of a sweet fruit or bitter fruit or whatever might be the taste of the fruit. That taste is in seed botanically. So, Patanjali as a philosopher is trying to tell us that we must go to the cause of sorrow, the cause of Duhkham, the cause of torment, and that is in avidya. Metaphysically, it is in avidya. Precisely, metapsychologically, it is in avidya. And in metapsychologically also, it is in rajoguna, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Rajasastu phalam dukkham. So, Heyam dukkham anagatam. Now, what is that dukkham? Samsara, prapancha, mundanity. You can't be expecting that you are sunk in mundanity, but then you are saved from dukkham. And that's why we hear about transcendence. We are allowed to transcend the mundanity. And when you transcend the mundanity, you enter the realm of paramartham. And in paramartham, there is a chance that you will get essential sukham and not pseudo sukham, which you get in mundanity. The mundane life is not full of sorrows and sorrows and sorrows insofar as experience is concerned. We'll experience even pleasures and delights and joys in mundanity. What is that joy for us in mundanity is essentially, microscopically, it's actually sorrow. Because there is parinama dukkha, there is tapa dukkha, there is samskara dukkha, there is gunavritti virodhatmak dukkha, as mentioned in the pathology of Duhkham by Patanjali in the previous sutra, which is a marvelous piece of philosophical precept. So, samsaram is Duhkham, prapancham is Duhkham. Although you might experience Sukham, as also it is ultimately Duhkham. And why it is ultimately Duhkham? The analysis has been presented in the previous sutra, which we discussed earlier. So, that is Duhkham. Prapanchikata is Duhkham. Samsarikata is Duhkham. Mundanity is Duhkham. Worldliness is Duhkham. Materiality is Duhkham. This is how it can be explained. And then, as we came towards the end of the last session, where we said, Heyam Duhkham anagatam. So, what does it mention? It mentions that the Duhkham will be of three classes. One is Atita Duhkham, and there is no question of any measure applied, measure taken, because it is Atita Duhkham, it has gone into latency, it has been already experienced, we have been already tormented, we have been already sorrowed. So when we have already been sorrowed, there can be no measure taken on it. So Atita Duhkham are not the Duhkham which should be considered, should be gotten onto the anvil, because they will not come on the anvil, because they have gone to latency. Atita Duhkham is the one from the time point of view. Then there is Vartamana Dukkham, ongoing sorrow. So this is already ongoing. So that is the present. So with reference to time, there is past, there is present, there is future. So what is Heyam, avoidable, is not the pain that is gone by, gone past, not even the pain that is mounted the time, present moment, which is mounted on the present moment, because that is being experienced. So what is being experienced will be definitely experienced. So no measure can be taken there, because it is only going to be there for a moment. By the time you take a measure, it will be next moment, another moment. So you will not have taken measure on that moment where the pain was mounting on it. So therefore that is not also heya, being Vartamana Dukkham. Then Anagata Dukkham is the one where you can take measure. It is yet to come, it is yet to appear, it is yet to actualize. It is in the realm of future. So we all take measures against what is going to happen. We don't take measures on something that has already happened. We don't even take measure on what is happening, because happening means it is being experienced. So you will be only able to mitigate it, thwart it with a measure. And when you take measure, it is always taken on the futuristic moment, not the present moment. Because present moment is just for one moment. By the time you decide on measure and take the measure, that moment is gone. And therefore, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. What is really avoidable? It's not just Dukkham. That won't be a proper statement, philosophically. Yes, it is of the class of avoidable, but it is not avoidable. Because something cannot be avoided which is of the realm of the past and which is on the present moment, mounted on present moment. So only Anagata Dukkham is really to be considered as Heya Paksha, as far as the measures are concerned. This is important. As far as measures are concerned, Anagata Dukkham is to be only considered. Although Dukkham of past is Heyam, for measure purpose, it is of no avail. So also the Dukkham that is mounted on the present moment is also of no avail. So Atita Dukkham, Vartamana Dukkham, Anagata Dukkham, namely past, present and future. So that's called Anarabdham. It is not yet started. So that is the Dukkham on which the measure is to be taken. And therefore very precise statement of Patanjali, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. So in samsarikata, prapanchikata, mundanity, all that is in the realm of the future is of the class of avoidable. Although the sorrow as a whole is avoidable class, but we can only be avoiding the sorrow which is yet to come. So that's the first sutra of the Caturvyu. Then what is the cause of this dukkha? Now we vaguely mentioned that avidya is the cause. Rajasastu phalam dukkham, rajoguna is the cause. Now Patanjali as a philosopher is going to postulate what is really the cause with which you will have to work. Then only you will be able to annihilate dukkham for all times. Otherwise it will be temporary. If you don't work on cause of dukkham, first cause of dukkham, primeval cause of dukkham, you will not be able to manage the dukkha at all. It will again reappear. It will go on reappearing time and again. So we'll have to work on the seed form, the seed aspect, the first cause of the Duhkham. And we in the mundanity never work on first cause, first and foremost cause. We try to work on immediate cause and try to manage it. And therefore we do not succeed because it can appear like a blade of grass. If you use the blade or a cutter and remove the grass, it is again going to appear. The sprout will again appear after a couple of days. So what we will have to do? We will have to do something at the very root of the grass. If the root of the grass is uprooted, then perhaps you will not get the grass. So we will have to work at the root. And the first root is called Rogahetu. So Heyam, Rogahetu, the first foremost cause, it is avidya or effect of avidya. Then when that cause is set aside, then that is freedom, absolute freedom, eternal freedom, all-time freedom, absolute freedom. So that is called Hanam. And then what is the measure taken for that? Is called Hanopaya. So these are the Caturvyuhas. Heya, Rogahetu, Hanam, Hanopayaha. So the topic, which is so centric to yoga philosophy, is going to commence from this Caturvyuhas. So Heyam, Duhkham, Anagatam is the first of the Caturvyuhas, the first vyuha, the first phase of fourfold inquiry. And that Duhkham, as described by the philosophy, is samsaram, prapancham, aparamarthikata, materiality, mundanity. And then it is of the form of avidya. So we will have to understand this avidya, which we have considered in the sutra. In the Klesha Prakaranam, where avidya was described as anitya shuchi Sukha and Atma, perversely construed. So anitya shuchi dukkha anatmasu nitya shuchi sukha atma khyati avidya was a sutra to tell us about. So now we are going to take up very systematic consideration of this Caturvyuhas, which is the sole purpose to escape the mundanity and embark upon Paramartham. So with that, we will proceed to the Caturvyuhas. But that is from next time. Namaskar all of you.